Hello everybody, how is everyone doing today? Today I am playing Thimbleweed Park. Well, I got a message from my mom. Okay, the reason I decided, you know what, let's play Thimbleweed Park sooner rather than later is, well, they're making a second one and Ron Gilbert is a great guy, you know? Well, at least from what I know. So, hold on, I need to do something real quick. Oh, did I do that already? Yeah, I think it did. Okay, whatever. So new game. New. There we go. I don't think it's can. Casual mode, hard mode. If you're an experienced adventure gamer and you want all the puzzles, because there's nothing more exciting in life than playing adventure games. I want to play casual mode. You know what? Because I want it to be a true point and click. I'll do hard mode. Okay. Okay. I know how to play it. Give commands. This is like, when was this made? Hey Google, what year did Thimbleweed Park come out? I guess we'll see. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, hold on. When did Thimbleweed Park come out? The 2017. Probably the never. Oh, yeah. So 2017. Better late than never, like I said. Okay. Yeah, I can't do that. Was picked up. Yeah, I know. I've played Ron Gilbert a few. How many Ron Gilbert games have I played that aren't just one series? I think I've only played Monkey Island 1 and 2, and then Return to Monkey Island. The rest weren't Ron Gilbert, but you know. Start with a verb and end with the. Oh, okay. Complex commands start with the verb, then an object, and end with another object or character. What? Oh, I see. To review or see advanced instruction tips. Okay, cool. Cool. Oh yeah, he's making a second one that should be coming. Oh, it's set in, or whatever, 1987. You know, it's something that I can't even think of the name of. Interesting. I like this art. Thimbleweed Park city limit. Population 81, elevation 14, I'm guessing is what that stands for. And there's somebody with the gun. Population 80. Somebody got killed. Well then. Part 1, the meeting. Bum, bum, bum. Please tell me this is voice acting. If not, I understand though. He's not really a voice acting type, I don't think. No, because he did Return to Monkey Island, which, whatever. That one came later than this though. Watch me have to read though. I heard a noise. I hear a noise again. Him drinking. I hear frogs.
I fly halfway around the world and an odd note is waiting for me in my hotel room. It says to come to the bridge down by the river. This looks like the place. I could really go for some Wiener Schnitzel after the long walk out here.
Open. Talk to Willie! I'm supposed to meet someone down here making social... Are you a victim of the... Okay.
I am supposed to meet someone down here. Have you seen anyone?
Do you have any whiskey?
Are you sure you have not seen anyone?
I'm glad Chuck is dead. Ruined my life.
Oh, you killed Chuck, I'm guessing?
Wake up, sir. Wake up, sir. I have to go. Sleep well.
Okay. Right, I want to look at the sign.
Trestle Trail to Thimbleweed Park. 1.7 miles.
Oh, pick up note. Oh, wait,
I
no,
can't pick up something I already have.
Oh, wait, hold on, what's this? Pick up rock. Okay. Use rock on... Nope, okay, never mind then. How do I walk? Look at, close, give, you know what? Okay.
I had better follow the instructions on the note before wandering into the underbrush.
Oh, why the fuck did he walk down those stairs? The bridge is over here. God damn it. Okay, look at, open.
I have to stay here until I finish my mission.
You idiot. The bridge, look at it.
It is my wallet, and it has 250. I had better follow the instructions on the note before wandering into the underbrush.
Look at, no. Go to the river down by the, just turn off the light above the Trestle Trail so I know you have arrived. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Use light.
I do not see a way to turn it off.
Oh! Okay, I see what to do. That's funny, but also fun.
There! I've completed step 3 of the note. Now for step 4.
I don't know how to save it. Okay, what's step 4? Okay, look at note. Meet at the large entrance to the underground sewers. Make sure... Meet me at the large entrance. Oh, so I'm guessing I have to go this way now? Okay, yep. What the fuck? Well, I guess I died. No, I didn't. I hope I didn't die at least, you know? None of us were prepared what we'd find that night, or how much it would change us all. Part 2, the body. Dun, dun, dun. This should take like 10 hours, you know? If I can do this right, I'll have it done in like 2 streams, maybe 3. Oh, that was the guy that I was just playing as. Where is my mouse?
So tell me again why you're here.
I was assigned to the case by the Home Office in Albuquerque.
There is no home office in Albuquerque.
It's neat to know.
Look, I like working a case alone. I especially don't need some junior agent messing up my investigation. Especially some junior agent that thinks I don't know there isn't a home office in Albuquerque. So stay out of my way.
Hello.
Take a lot of notes. Sit back and learn. And I'll wrap up this case and we can both get the hell out of here.
Your reputation certainly precedes you, Agent Ray.
I'll take that as a compliment, Agent Reyes.
It's how it was intended.
I'm sure it was. Let's photograph the victim and head into town to talk to the local sheriff. The body is starting to pixelate.
Body starting to pixelate.
One.
This is going to be a long night.
Yes, it is. Sorry, hold on. I don't want to look at it. I want to use camera on corpse.
There's no film in the camera.
Oh, great. Do you have film? Okay, look at corpse.
Appears to be a male, approximately 40 years old. Looks like he's been in the water for 24 hours. You can tell by the pixelation around the nose and neck.
No, that's fine.
Let's see here. There's no wallet in his pockets. But I found a card. Possibly a key card from a hotel.
Okay, cool, I guess. I don't think I can go over. Watch me die if I go over here. Okay, look at something.
It's covered by the underbrush, but it's an old abandoned chainsaw.
Pick up chainsaw? Okay. Well, I found a chainsaw. Bitch, I found a chainsaw! Okay. Talk to. Give.
Sure, I'll carry your crap.
That's not what I wanted, but okay. Anyway, what's your name? What's your name? What'd I do? Talk to. There it is.
Do you happen to have any film on you?
I do. I come prepared.
I think we'd better take a photo of that body before it pixelates any further.
Sure, I never would have thought of that.
Do you happen to have any film on you?
I do. I come prepared.
Okay.
Well, I need to get back to solving this case.
I guess give to.
Like I don't have enough to carry already.
That's not what I want. What the? Hold on. Look at bottle.
It's an empty whiskey bottle.
Give. Do it. Right. Hi, Rev. I'm doing good today. How are you doing today, Rev? Pick up empty whiskey bottle. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to talk to. Right.
I think we'd better take a photo of that body before it pixelates any further.
No kidding.
How do I,
Well, I need to get back to solving this case.
Give. Take. That's not what I wanted. How do I... What's this? Oh, I see. I get it. Okay. That makes more sense. Use film. No, not use camera.
I can't use it until I find some chainsaw gas. It's an instant camera. Only has one picture left.
Okay.
Smile.
There we go. Okay, that's cool.
Now we can head into town and find the local sheriff.
Oh, you're doing horrible. Oh, I'm sorry you're sick. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, honestly. Now, what was I supposed to do? I wasn't paying attention. No. Wait, can I save? Okay, I can save. Good. Oh, wait, this isn't what I want. I want to save game that, right? Did I just save the game? Yeah, I did. This is...
Change the world. My final message.
Hi, Hitspits! How are you today? I hope you're doing good. Talk to... trying to talk to this guy. Okay, right. Oh no, that's me. Talk to.
We should go find the sheriff.
No kidding.
That's good to hear.
Well, I need to get back to solving this case.
Okay. Oh, okay, Rev Nugget. I love that emote that I made. And well, I remade. It's something of theirs on a nugget. Uh, let's see real quick.
It's a good photo of the body. I like how the state-of-the-art camera can alter the angle of the shot. That's the coroner's job.
Oh, okay. Look at
There
clips.
appears to be a small hole in the back of the head. Origins unknown. The hole in the victim's head doesn't look like a gunshot, more like a puncture from a sharp object. Which is odd, because the opening title sequence clearly showed a gunshot with accompanying sound effect.
Oh, it's funny. Hold on, let me look at sign.
Trestle Trail to Thimbleweed Park, 1.7 miles.
Okay, I guess we'll open this. Do I need to get both of them this way? I do.
Is an empty can of Crockford's tuna heads, the good parts.
Up, I guess. Ooh, an Atari cartridge. Nice. Look at the Atari cartridge.
It's the E.T. game for the 2600.
Oh, it is. Nice. Okay, let's pick it up. Double click to run. Dick. Hold on. What the hell? Circus flare? Okay.
Signals are very strong tonight.
His brother's. What signals?
What signals?
The signals. Signals are very strong tonight.
Any pronouns. So you can call me he, him, she, her, they, them. It's, I don't care.
Yes, you already said that. But what signals?
Those.
I'm just screwing with you. Dark night. Deserted road. Me in a giant pigeon costume? It was too good to pass up. But the signals are strong tonight. Very strong.
I like she, her pronouns a lot, but I don't care what pronouns you use, You almost run over for an agent. That's
You
a
almost
felony.
ran over a federal agent. That's a felony.
Sorry about that. Like I said, the signals are very strong tonight.
Anything but the body by the bridge.
This is really odd. Should I save my game?
I wouldn't worry about it. The game was expertly designed to have no dead ends or death. Yet still be scary and have a sense of tension. You can feel safe exploring whatever you want. But I'd watch out for the signals. They can be very strong and disrupt the power grid.
Oh, wow.
Do you know anything about the body by the bridge?
Why is it whenever a dead body is found, suspicion always falls to the person dressed as a giant bird?
Hey, if the beak fits.
We don't know anything about a dead body, but the signals are strong tonight. Very strong.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, Hitsbits. It's okay, you don't need to worry about texting me ever, Or you're just like
Why
a
are
giant
you
pigeon.
dressed like a giant pigeon?
We're the Pigeon Brothers Plumbing. I'm Beth. That's my sister Emily. Hi there!
Why brothers if you're sisters?
Why brothers
we're
if you're
trans, actually.
sisters?
Dad was expecting to have sons, and he was too cheap to have the van repainted. So we're just rolling with it till he's dead. Oh, soon. Shut up, Emily.
Wait, I'm guessing they're gonna kill their dad or something. Hold on. Let's see. I think I've had enough of you.
I
Okay.
think I've had enough of you. I need to find the sheriff and solve a murder.
Nice talking to you, too. Whack! Beep! 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 Whack! Heek!
Whoa. Thank you for the text. Hmm. Okay, sorry. Whoa, hold on. Walk to bottom. Want to look at bottom?
It's an empty soda bottle.
Up, I guess. Don't walk the town yet. Actually, you can't walk the town. I don't give two shits. Wait, did I just lose the other guy? But what the hell is this? Well, I knew you did.
Wait for me.
No, I don't wanna. Okay. Well, there's no dead ends or anything, so look at
Willie's Watch and Violin Repair Shop. Thimbleweed County's most exclusive watch and violin repair. We repair watches and violins for the rich or famous.
Thank you,
It's
you're
dark,
also
but I
awesome.
can see there's nothing in there.
Is that in the game? That was in the game. Okay, that's not a hint. No, hold on.
It says, need help playing Thimbleweed Park. Call the fully automated Hinttron 3000 at
Hold on.
4468. Interesting.
How do I hold on? What? I'll do that right now. Fuck it. You know? I don't know exactly how to do this properly, but what was it? 4468. Okay, hold on. Maybe I did this wrong. Hint. What is H.R? Okay, it's September 15th. Okay. What is hint a phone? On a flip phone. A flip phone. Okay, let's see. Hold on. What is how to spell hint on a flip phone? Oh, I see what it is. Okay, 4 4. Okay, I see. 4444. 444. 66688. 6668. Oh shit. How do I go back? Okay. 66688. Nope. Apparently it's not a number. Hold on. How to call Thimbleweed Park. I'm gonna look it up. Oh. Such as the patient. Okay, I see. Okay, I see. I get it. Okay, let me take a picture of this real quick. It's, it shouldn't be called on an actual phone, basically. Got it. Okay, sorry about that. I got distracted. Look at the
Closed.
sun.
Looks like they cleared out in a hurry.
Yeah, looks like they did. Wait. How much battery does this have? I wonder. Okay, let's see. 94%. Okay, good. Sorry about that. So basically, if I find a payphone, you know.
Howdy, I'm the Thimbleweed Park Sheriff. I don't remember calling the Federinos. That's what you are, feds. Hard to miss the government issue suits.
Damn straight, we're the feds.
Damn straight, we're the feds.
Whoa! Hold your horse-a-rinos. No need to get snippy. Looks like you heard about our little murder-reno out by the bridge, huh?
There is nothing little about murder, sir.
Ignore him. He's new.
No sense in wasting everyone's time, Reno. This cutscene is starting to get long, and it's only gonna get longer. Let's find the coroner and get you on your
You break
way.
the fourth wall.
Wrestling starts at
I
8.
think.
I hope he's talking about on TV.
What the hell?
The coroner is waiting for you in his office. Come see me when you're done. I apologize, Reno, for all the lights being off. We don't stay open as long as you city slickerinos do at night.
Even for a murder?
Especially for murder.
Especially for murder?
That makes no sense.
Are we authorized to shoot people arenos?
Look at. I said look at.
The inscription says, Pilotronics, the brain of our city.
Use waterfront. I need to pee. Open door, I guess.
Howdy who, I'm the Thimbleweed Park coroner.
Howdy
Welcome
who.
to the future who.
Future who?
Oh, these are the latest in crime-fighting computers made by Pillowtronics Inc. This is all probably pretty advanced,
Oh my God, there's
even
feet.
for the Fedahus.
Oh, do
Why do they
enlighten
get
us.
feet in my camera?
I love your sarcastic humor, Who Agent Ray.
Oh, they
It's
smell
not
old.
humor.
There you go again.
We're interested in any help your computers can give us. They look marvelous.
Yes, happy to explain. So happy to explain, Who. Yeah, you might want to take notes.
Already on it.
Oh, okay. Tell us about the Bloodtron 3000.
Tell us about the Bloodtron 3000.
This is the Bloodtron 3000. Put 2 bloody objects in and it will match the blood type, printing out a report to Who.
Okay.
Tell us about the Fingertron 3000.
Right, Reno, the Fingertron 3000. Insert a fingerprint registry of known criminals and a fingerprint from the murder weapon on fingerprint tape, and it will do a match-a-who.
Okay, what does the Bloodtron
What
do
does
again?
the Bloodtron 3000 do again?
Put 2 bloody objects in and it will match the blood type, printing out a report to Who.
Okay.
Oh, tell us about the Facetron 3000.
The Facetron 3000. Or, as I like to call it,
Let me guess. The face Areno?
no, that's what the sheriff calls it. You city folka who crack me up. Just insert 2 pictures of an individual and it will verify a positive match.
Aren't you the Sheriff Areno?
Oh my, no. no who. Well, people say there is some resemblance around the eyes. But we're as different as peas of who's in a pot of who. Plus, the sheriff has that annoying Areno he adds to everything. You'll never hear me doing that who.
Sure. Whatever.
That is a who.
Did you use these computers to investigate the Pillow Factory fire?
Oh, sure did. 4 computers positively showed the fire was caused by the factory guard. No doubt a who about it.
Could the computers have been wrong about the fire?
Not these computers. Oh, the state-of-the-art of who computers made by Pillowtronics. Absolutely infallible.
Okay.
Isn't there a conflict of interest with Pillowtronics and the fire?
Whoa, now. Pillowtronics and its founder, Chuck, are above reproach. Chuck built this town and was a computer and pillow genius. Are the feds looking into this case? It was solved 20 years ago.
No, he's just curious. He's a Pillow Factory fire buff. He's got a CompuServe chat room and everything.
Fascinating stuff. I think we've heard enough. This is all very impressive, sir. This should cut hours of our investigation.
Go see the sheriff in his office for a full explanation of the amazing Arrestron 3000. I have some paperwork to do, who. Oh, yeah, almost forgot. These Tron machines are fully voice-activated, so if you need any information, just talk to them. It's like we're living in the futuristic year of 2017.
God, they smell so bad. Sorry, they're in my face. What else am I
I
supposed to
hate
do?
this town.
Let's investigate these Tron machines, then go see the sheriff and get out of here.
Okay, look at.
Lots
Bookshelf.
of medical books there.
Yep, seems about right. I wish he'd follow me, you know.
It's a medical skeleton. Ugh. Smells awful.
Hold on, let me smell the bit. Oh yeah, smells dead.
It's a very dark and smelly flight of stairs leading up to the door.
To the door. Open the door.
Hello again, Agent Arenos. Hopefully, the coroner fills you in on our state-of-the-art Reno computers.
Said the Arturino, it's some very serious computing power.
That's some
Got that?
very serious computing power you've got there.
Yes, sir, Reno. It's all state-of-the-art computer Renos from Pillowtronics. Absolutely infallible.
You're also the coroner,
You're
right?
also the coroner, right?
Oh, my, no. Ha ha! No, Reno. People say there is some resemblance around the eyes, but we're as different as peas Renos in a pot of Reno. Plus, the coroner has that annoying ahoo he adds to everything. You'll never hear me doing that, Reno.
The coroner said something about the Arrestron?
Yes, the Arrestron 3000. The last step in a fully computerized Reno arrest. The final link in the chain of a guaranteed conviction of Reno. Every detail of Reno analyzed and verified by computer.
Moving on.
Right, sorry, Reno, I get carried away sometimes. This is the big bad boy of Reno you've been hearing about. The Arrestron 3000. Just feed 3 reports from other Tron machines into this, and it issues a 100% Reno valid arrest warrant.
Can I see them both
Yeah,
in
these machines are
the
the
same
reason
room?
we
I don't
need
know.
only one law enforcement officer of Reno. Chuck said that computers will soon put us all out of work, allowing for a full life of luxury.
Chuck, should we investigate Chuck as a
Should we
suspect?
investigate Chuck as a suspect?
Sadly, Chuck passed away a few days ago.
Oh yeah, that's
There
right.
was
I
a
forgot
big
about that.
service out at the cemetery of Reno. Oh, the entire town showed up, which isn't surprising for the hero of Thimbleweed County. We'll talk more about Chuck later. I need to run to Reno and check on a disturbance call out at the old circus. Probably that stupid clown of Reno again.
Looks like we need to go talk to the rest of the weirdos that live in this town.
We should
Yeah, I
split up.
guess.
It will be faster.
You cooling your heels in the local diner would also make things go faster.
Huh.
If we follow agency questioning protocols, this shouldn't take long.
Just don't mess anything up. I want to get out of here as fast as possible.
Agreed. I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
What's this? Look at.
It's a police radio. Looks like it's on and ready to use.
Can I use it? Breaker, breaker 19, breaker. Daisy.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. A bicycle built for 2. Breaker 19, breaker. Attention, all units. Enough screwing around. I've got a case to solve.
Okay. Okay, let's see where I go now. Oh yeah, I have to open the door. Where the hell are the Pigeon Brothers? I mean, why did I say who the hell are the Pigeon Brothers? I fucking know where they are. Ride the bus? What? Okay. Oh, ride the... Okay.
No time to talk. We have to fix this slight leak.
Slightly.
Can I do anything to help?
Well, the Hydrotron's tube is obviously burned out.
We could use a new one. A WC-67?
Yeah, we're out of that size.
Must have been the signals.
Yes, the signals.
Okay, WC-69. Maybe they'll get it eventually. Maybe I don't need that. Okay.
We interrupt our hostile takeover non-stop music with this important message. The government is brainwashing you with secret transmissions. We just don't know.
And before I do that, sound. Please tell me there's no text and speak. Well, I want that. Wait, do I not have display text? Yeah. How did I not have that? Okay. Video. Toilet paper over. Annoying in jokes. Oh, well, yeah. Ooh, this steals. I may want that. Toilet paper over. What? Hold on. Video safer. Oh wait, that's no. I want it in full screen.
Where they are coming from. And now back to our special hostile takeover song.
Welcome to the S&D Diner. Hey, just so you know, that article in the Thimbleweed Nickel about botulism was a smear job. So, what can I do for you, honey?
Eat my ass. What's up with the sheriff? This is kind of weird, Reno. What's up with the town?
What's up with the sheriff? He's kind of weirder, Reno.
Yeah, he's kind of a nut job, but nothing compared to the coroner. This whole town has gotten downright weird in the last few years. Cuckooville.
I'm afraid I don't know anything about the dead body.
The coroner and the sheriff are the same person.
Yeah, there might be some resemblance around the eyes, but that's about it. The sheriff does this annoying a Reno thing, and the coroner does an annoying a who. It pretty much proves they're not the same person.
How does speech prove they're not the same person?
You're asking a lot of questions that probably shouldn't be asked.
I'm a federal agent. That's my job.
I've said too much already.
I want to do something. Hold on. Sorry. Where are the teeth? Okay, there we go. Okay. I want to play something for you guys. I have to take 3 metformin now, which would equal 1,500 milligrams, right? Hold on. There we go. So what I did, I think it's 3:30, right? Yeah, 3:30. There's something that should play. Oh, I didn't press play. Hold on, it's too loud, it's too loud, hold on. Okay, here we go.
Time to take your metformin again. Don't forget. Do it. Now. Take it. Get milk and then take that one metformin. You can do it. Why is it taking so long?
So if you heard that, I wrote that. And what it is there's like this thing for Samsung phones called modes and routines. I just set up a routine. Okay, sorry. I think it's funny. Alright, let's move up the dead body. What's up with this town?
What's up with this town? Most of the stores are abandoned.
Used to be the center of culture in the Tri-County area. Parties every night at the hotel. Celebrities visiting the Edmund Mansion. It was hard to not make money in those days. Of course, this was before my time. And since the pillow factory burnt down, the town is drying up faster than Dave's sex drive. Ain't that right, Dave?
I'm a federal agent. Know anything about the dead body?
Not too much, just scuttlebutt from the morning breakfast crowd. And I don't want to get into trouble, especially with a crazy person like him.
You're not talking about me, are you?
Shut up, Dave.
We're the feds. You can trust us. What else do you know?
Okay, honey. But you didn't hear this from me. I'd look into that crazy clown that lives out at the old circus. He's been out there since the circus closed down years ago. Never takes his makeup off. He's got serial killer written all over him. It all happened about 9 or 10 years ago. Ransom the Jerk was the featured act at Stupendous Brothers Circus.
Looks like an
He was
idiot.
about ready to go on stage and meet his well-earned doom.
Big night tonight. Full house after my raunchiest Tonight Show appearance. I really got Johnny good, that little jackwad. It's his own fault for not being able to take a joke. I better get ready to go on stage and insult the crap out of these Thimbleweed idiots. I just need to fix my hair, put on my makeup and clown nose, find my joke book.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, joke book. Or to the local poster. We need to find a joke book. Oh, watch it be in the refrigerator or something. Oh, he has no food.
Empty, but clean. Fridge assistant hasn't replenished my supply. No time for a cold one anyway.
Yeah, he sounds like he's supposed to be Chris. Oh yeah, I forgot. Talk to, no, open, close. Hold on. I have to do something. Hold on. Let me just. I already. Oh, I can't do it yet. Fuck. Can I pause? Okay, hold on. Walk the clown nose. Walk the bed. So what if I open this door? Open this door.
Ransom, I'm glad I caught you before you went on stage.
Autographs are $100.
Ransom, I'm your business manager and lawyer. I don't want your autograph.
Okay, 50 then.
I just wanted to let you know that your mistress is waiting.
Hold on. What am I doing? I'm opening the wrong thing is what the fuck I'm doing. I'm trying to get the ransom unbeeped. Ooh. For fuck's sake, I opened Steam by accident. God damn it. Exit Steam. Add to cart. It says 99 cents, but it's $1.05. Okay. Hold on. Okay. I don't know how bad this will be. Keep game perfect. Ooh. Video game preservation. Oh, I need to. I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Non-refundable and stuff, whatever. I don't care. It's for GOG because it's DRM free. Like, it funds fixes ports and DRM free releases. Okay, I'll be right back. In a bit. A second. Oh, I don't know. Okay. I will be right back. Let me go to beer. Fuck me sideways, no. As I get closer, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm a-okay. Like, I just got so scared I don't even remember screaming, holy shit. Hello, Grandma? I was just going to let you know that Mom wants to give me fish sticks for lunch, and I was gonna ask if you could do that later for me. Not right now because it's not lunchtime, but later. I know. I know how to do it. I just streaming, you know.
Just. I'll think about it.
Well, you better not be on your phone with your sister again.
Yeah, why?
Because I said so.
That's true, dear. It already was. I just have to ask you. You lazy bum who could have come around the corner and asked.
Okay, time to get back to the game. I got the DLC. Is it downloaded though? Oh, it's updating, so it needs to wait, I guess. Okay, wait, hold on. Finalizing, yay. Okay, updated. Okay, installed Thimbleweed Park. And perfect. Okay, play. Sorry about that. I got, oh, I love that art piece. I made that art, by the way, that's on screen right now. Well, not the whole thing, but I made the Liffy kissing my boyfriend, Sana. Load game. Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, I already have the picture. Wait, I have the chainsaw. Okay. Open. Oh, wait, hold on. I almost forgot something. Sound. That's not what I wanted. I wanted text and speech. There we go. Display text is fine. Nope, that's not what I wanted either. Controls video. Ransom unbeeped. Warning, the ransom English audio contains harsh and possibly offensive language. It's not suitable for children. Well, lucky for you, I'm not a child. You know? Save game, just real quick. Alright. So, pick up this. Pick up the Atari game. Look at.
It's a circus flyer with a crazy looking clown on it. Pretty good makeup, though.
Signals are very strong tonight.
Why are
just
you
like
dressed like a
pigeon.
giant pigeon?
We're the Pigeon Brothers Plumbing. I'm Beth. That's my sister Emily. Hi there! But remember, signals are very strong tonight.
What signals?
The signals.
I know
Signals
we
are
already
very
went through
strong
this, but
tonight.
I didn't save properly.
Why brothers if you're sisters?
Dad was expecting to have sons, and he was too cheap to have the van repainted. So we're just rolling with it till he's dead. Oh, soon. Shut up, Emily. Signals are very strong tonight.
Yes, you already said that. But what signals?
I'm just screwing with you. Dark night, deserted road, me in a giant pigeon costume?
Yep.
It was too good to pass up. But the signals are strong tonight. Very strong.
I think I've had enough of you. I need to find the sheriff and solve a murder.
Nice talking to you, too. Squeak! Woo! Boop!
Hopefully that was them again. Is there any references to anything that I can read or something? Apparently not.
It's a good photo of the body. I like how the state-of-the-art camera can alter the angle of the shot.
Where's my mouse? Oh, it's just... Oh, okay, I see. Why am I going this way? Does this even bring me anywhere? Did this bring me backwards? No. Okay, that's what happened. Chuck. Oh, I don't want to go there yet, do I? No. God damn it. I went all this way for fucking nothing. I have to go there at some point, but not yet, you know? I was just curious, man. Oh, and I'm gonna have to do that again in the future. God damn it. I walked to the pathway. Whoa, no, you don't. Hey, wait for me. Oh, now I think I get what this is. Somebody's watching us, apparently. Besides me. Yeah.
Wait for me.
Anyway, you know what? Let's.
I need to stay focused and
let's save game.
Solve this murder so I can get on with my plan.
Oh wait.
Howdy, I'm the Thimbleweed Park Sheriff. I don't remember calling the Federinos. That's what you are, feds. Hard to miss the government issue suits.
Demonstrate where the feds cut the Mayberry crap. We're taking over this case.
Cut the Mayberry crap. We're taking over this case.
Whoa! Hold your horse-a-rinos. No need to get snippy. Looks like you heard about our little murder-reno out by the bridge, huh?
There is nothing little about murder, sir.
Ignore him. He's new.
No sense in wasting everyone's time, Reno. This cutscene is starting to get long, and it's only gonna get longer. Let's find the coroner and get you on your way. Wrestling starts at 8.
I hope he's talking about on TV.
The coroner is waiting for you in his office. Come see me when you're done. I
Oh,
apologize,
okay.
Reno, for all the lights being off. We don't stay open as long as you city slickerinos do at night.
Even for a murder?
Especially for murder.
That makes no sense.
Are we authorized to shoot people arenos?
Open door. I'll
Howdy
be right
ho,
back
I'm
on.
the Thimbleweed Park coroner. Welcome to the future, who? Oh, these are the latest in crime-fighting computers made by Pillowtronics, Inc. This is all probably pretty advanced, even for the Fedahoos.
Oh, do enlighten us.
I love your sarcastic humor, Who, Agent Ray.
It's not humor.
There you go again.
We're interested in any help your computers can give us. They look marvelous.
Yes, happy to explain. So happy to explain, Who. Yeah, you might want to take notes.
Already on it.
I should have gone to the BRB screen. Hold on. I will actually be right back now. As you were talking with your sister.
Talk to you later.
Okay, update me later about how your sister's doing.
Okay.
Bye. Jesus Christ, Drew, that scared the hell out of me. How are you today, Drew? That scared the fuck out of me. I think it may be a little too loud for me. What is my purpose? You fuck up the job of basically not killing humans? Oh my god. Yeah, you're a fuck up. Ah! Rex, you motherfucker! Okay, there we go. I was like, wait, why is it not letting me through? Man, he must be risking to reach. It's a mouse! Don't worry about it, it's just a mouse. Ah! Fuck! They'll make me go to college. Oh no! I'm fucked! They'll kick me out! They'll kill me! They'll eat my ass and call me a good boy! I mean, what? Hold on. Okay, concentrate. Good boy energy, good boy vibes. What the fuck was that? Oh! That was amazing! Oh, if only I got it that try. Okay, good boy energy, good boy vibes, good boy vibes! Ah! I like being called good boy, shut up. Good boy energy, good boy vibes. The frame rate or something so I could see frame by frame what I was doing. I did it! I fucking did it! Holy shit! Open portal! Opening up the prolapse! Walking right in right now! Something! Eat the pro. I mean, what? That is disgusting. Can't believe you'd say that, Drew. I thought he was about to see me there for a second. Please don't turn around and look at me.
He just unlocked the doors.
Ah!
I knew it was you, Larry.
Motherfucker. Move it just a little bit in one of these directions. There we go, got it. That took me...
A plant?
I don't know, I don't have a watch. Distracted by shit, you know? Speaking of shit, Raid Shadow Legends. She's going down my jiggies till I scooped. That's probably the best I've done so far. Actually, hold on, there we go. That's like the best I've done. Hold on, let me just close out of the projector source real quick. And then let's go to the full cam so you can see. That looks great, does it not? Like, that's fucking great. I don't know how I did it better this time than I did before. A stick figure with a diamond head and cat ears.
Oh no, somebody stole the cat's legs!
Yay, we did it.
Crazy?
I was crazy once.
They locked me in a room. A rubber room. A rubber room with rats. And rats make me crazy.
I don't think I'm safe. What the? Ah! Oh, okay, that was startling, as you can tell, because I didn't actually like scream.
Are locked. Of course, the front seat belt.
The toothbrush is back! Everybody! Guys, look, it's the toothbrush! Yeah!
A little bit different, so let's go have a look at those ones. Do you hear the front seat belt?
I'm sorry, but him throwing the toothbrush in the frame was funny. I don't know why, it's so dumb. I hope you guys can hear me without me giving away my position. The fuck was that? I'm on tonight, my hips don't lie, da 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 da. Oh. There because I was trying to think of a joke, and I was like, nah, that's too easy. Because I said stubby gun, and I was gonna say that's what they actually called me in middle school. Yeah. Oh no, never mind. I was wrong. I thought I had to. Ooh, Rev, you can't get your head straight again. It's June. It's fucking Gay Pride Month. You can't go straight. No, I'm sorry.
Why is this so hard, chat?
Because my makeup made it that way. Oh wait, I didn't mean that. Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to. I have no idea where I'm going, but that's pretty normal for me when I'm playing a game. Jesus Christ, which one are you? Oh, Rex, god damn it. It didn't scare me as much as it startled me.
Tabs the bat asked me, why does catching fire become so stimky as their natural habitat?
What?
Ah yes, the elusive catching fire 3_. We observe them falling off. As Tabs the bat so eloquently puts it, is it their natural habitat, perhaps? Or maybe they're just a bit shit at Power Wash Simulator 2.
Wow! 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 Did he just say I'm... Wow! Ah! Fuck you! When I come from that entrance, right? There are rat traps somewhere here that I have to look at, apparently. Ah! What the fuck?
In its full furry glory. To my friends, it's Baz. To my enemies, it's Ratty Pesca. Well, I'm a wombat, but you don't usually get to choose your nickname, eh?
He's Australian white. He got Vegemite stuck in his teeth. Why did I fucking keep walking? Am I dumb? Am I okay? Hold on. Hold on. I can't feel heartbeat! Oh no! I don't, I might be dead. I'm not sure though. Oh my god, what the fuck? You're doing it so well though. You timed it twice by accident. He gave me another 5. I did it! I won a run and I got an achievement for it! Hell yeah, hold on, let me mark this. Holy shit, I finally beat a run! And now it's in endless mode and I'm so happy! I beat a run finally! No. Come on. Jesus Christ, you fucker! I wasn't expecting that. I told you not to do that, Chaos Tricks. Watch, he'll be back. I think he's gonna be back, honestly. Oh, he's not? Oh. Wait, did I get a sad ending? Wait, are there 2 endings to this game? Are there more endings than just this one? Okay, Drew, fuck you! You actually got me there. Fuck, I thought it actually ended on a sad note. What are you talking about? I never said I forgot myself. Said I forgot the bottom. Oh, you motherfucker! I can tell you why I am Puppy as a 6'1" male that weighs over 300 pounds. I'm submissive and breedable. Sorry, I may not be breedable, but I am goddamn submissive, which in turn makes me goddamn breedable. You can't tell me. Okay, sorry about that. I am back. I'm making lunch right now, so I have my phone out.
Tell us about the Bloodtron 3000.
This is the Bloodtron 3000.
Alright.
Put two bloody objects
Okay,
in and it
can't
will
skip.
match the blood type, printing out a report to who.
Okay. Okay.
Tell us about the Fingertron 3000.
Right, Reno, the Fingertron 3000. Insert a fingerprint registry of known criminals and a fingerprint from the murder weapon on fingerprint tape, and it will do a match-a-who.
Okay.
Aren't you the Sheriff Reno?
Oh my, no. No who. Well, people say there is some resemblance around the eyes, but we're as different as peas a who's in a pot of who. Plus, the sheriff has that annoying Reno he adds to everything. You'll never hear me doing that who.
Sure, whatever.
Did you use these computers to investigate the pillow factory fire?
Oh, sure did. 4 computers positively showed the fire was caused by the factory guard. No doubt a who about it.
Could the computers have been wrong about the fire?
Not these computers. Oh, the state-of-the-art Who computers made by Pillowtronics. Absolutely infallible.
Isn't there a conflict of interest with Pillowtronics and the fire?
Whoa, now. Pillowtronics
Hey,
and
Google.
its founder, Chuck, are above reproach.
Okay, I have to be
Chuck
near my
built
phone
this
apparently.
town
Great.
and was a computer and pillow genius. Are the feds looking into this case? It was solved 20 years ago.
No, he's just curious. He's a Pillow Factory fire buff. He's got a CompuServe chat room and everything.
I'll snooze the ad.
Oh, tell us about the Facetron 3000.
The Facetron 3000. Or, as I like to call it.
Let me guess. The face Reno?
No, that's what the sheriff calls it. You city folka who crack me up. Just insert 2 pictures of an individual and it will verify a positive match.
Okay.
Fascinating stuff. I think we've heard enough. This is all very impressive, sir.
Sorry about
This
that.
should cut hours of our investigation.
Go see the sheriff in his office for a full explanation of the amazing Arrestron 3000. I have some paperwork to do, who. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. These Tron machines are fully voice activated, so if you need any information, just talk to them. It's like we're living in the futuristic year of
I wonder what dead toast is like.
I hate this town.
They taste dead.
Let's investigate these Tron
taste dead.
machines,
They taste
then
like
go see
nothing.
the sheriff and get out of here.
Okay, anyway. Sheriff, well, I can just click open door, right?
Hello again, Agent Arenos. Hopefully the coroner fills you in on our state-of-the-art Reno computers.
What else do you know about the pillow factory fire 20 years ago?
A horrible fire that killed everyone at the factory. After a lengthy investigation and corroborated to Reno by our computers, it was determined the fire was caused by a security guard.
Okay.
Couldn't the fire have been started by faulty equipment?
The faulty Reno equipment theory was debunked by our computers. Ironclad Reno evidence pointed to the security guard, who was also killed in the fire. The case was closed and blame squarely and fairly put on the guard Reno.
Okay. You, Coroner said something about the restaurant. You're also the coroner, right?
You're also the coroner, right?
Oh my, no. No, Reno. People say there is some resemblance around the eyes, but we're as different as peas Renos in a pot of Reno. Plus, the coroner has that annoying ahoo he adds to everything. You'll never hear me doing that, Reno.
You, the coroner.
You I mean, the coroner said something about the restaurant.
Yes, the Arrestron 3000. The last step in a fully computerized Reno arrest. The
I won't
final
skip
link
this
in the
outbreak.
chain of a guaranteed conviction Reno. Every detail of Reno analyzed and verified by computer.
Moving on.
Right, sorry, Reno, I get carried away sometimes. This is the big bad boy Reno you've been hearing about. The Arrestron 3000. Just feed 3
I'll be
reports
right
from other
back.
Tron machines into this, and it issues a 100% Reno valid arrest warrant. Yeah, these machines are the reason we need only one law enforcement officer Reno. Chuck said that computers will soon put us all out of work, allowing for a full life of luxury.
Sorry about that. The oven went off. Who is the shark?
Who is this Chuck we keep hearing about?
Sadly, Chuck passed away a few days ago. There was a big service out at the cemetery, Reno. Oh, the entire town showed up, which isn't surprising for the hero of Thimbleweed County. We'll talk more about Chuck later. I need to run to Reno and check on a disturbance call out at the old circus. Probably that stupid clown Reno again.
Let's go,
Looks like
Reno.
we need to go talk to the rest of the weirdos that live in this town.
We should split up. It will be faster.
You cooling your heels in the local diner would also make things go faster.
If we follow agency questioning protocols, this shouldn't take long.
Just don't mess anything up. I want to get out of here as fast as possible.
Agreed.
Open the door, Reno. Wait, shut up. Wait. Can I take that wrench? Hold on.
Don't touch our Wrenchtron 3000. Only someone like me with the proper training can handle it.
Well, fuck you too, bitch. Nope, don't want to go there yet, at least. Nope, don't want to go to the town outskirts. Can we go down here? Actually, hold on. First, I need to go here.
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
Okay.
No time to talk.
We have to fix this slight leak.
Slight leak.
I'd really like to explore A Street.
Street's closed until we fix this leak.
Can I do anything to help?
Well, the Hydrantron's tube is obviously burned out.
We could use a new one. A WC-67?
Yeah, we're out of that size.
Must have been the signals.
Yes, the signals.
Okay. Can't go in there. You know what? Look at the sign.
It says, "We're out at the old abandoned pillow factory. Back soon.
Huh.
Safely First Savings Manager, Mr. El Paulo."
Walk to alley, I guess. I knew there was a speck of dust right here. Let's see if I can I pick it up? I picked it up. That's funny. Open trash can? Oh, never mind that. Whoops. Welp. Huh? What happens if I walk the alley? Oh, okay. Pick up Reyes' notebook?
Pretty disgusting.
Can I open this?
I'm not opening up that disgusting trash can.
Oh, so at least one of them...
It's locked.
At least one of them had to go this hand right there. Whoops, wrong button. Or not wrong button. Walk to Main Street, come on. No, you... Wait, there's more... Oh, wait, that's...
We interrupt our hostile takeover non-stop music with this important message. I've barricaded myself in the studio, playing the same song non-stop until the government fesses up. Welcome to the S&D Diner. Hey, just so you know, that article in the Thimbleweed Nickel about botulism was a smear job. So, what can I do for you, honey?
I'm a federal agent. Know anything about the dead body?
Not too much, just scuttlebutt from the morning breakfast crowd. And I don't want to get into trouble,
The fuck is
especially with a
scuttlebutt?
crazy person like him.
You're not talking about me, are you?
Shut up, Dave.
Don't screw with the feds. Tell us what you know.
Don't screw with the feds. Tell us what you know.
Okay, honey, but you didn't hear this from me. I'd look into that crazy clown that lives out at the old circus.
Sorry.
He's been out there since the circus closed down years ago. Never takes his makeup off. He's got serial killer written all over him. It all happened about 9 or 10 years ago.
Flashback!
Ransom the Jerk was the featured act at Stupendous Brothers Circus. He was about ready to go on stage and meet his well-earned doom.
Big night tonight. Full house after my raunchiest Tonight Show appearance. I really got Johnny good, that little jackwad. It's his own fault for not being able to take a joke. I better get ready to go on stage and insult the crap out of these thimbleweed idiots. I just need to fix my hair, put on my makeup and clown nose, find my joke book.
Yeah, hold on. Pick up clown nose. Use clown nose.
Ouch! That's fucking tight, but it'll have to do. Glad I only have to wear it for a couple of hours.
Walk to tape. Pick up shiny trophy.
I glued him to the table so no one can steal him.
Okay. Joke book. Oh, I was not expecting that. Okay. Walk to mirror. Look at mirror, I guess. God.
My hair's all frizzy and I'm not wearing my special ransom clown makeup. I can't go on like this. Get your shit together, clown.
Apply my fucking awesome clown makeup. Get my fucking joke book back. Yeah, okay. We're... Wait. Pick up card. Look at...
It's my fucking lawyer's business card. Brent Bailiwick JD. Legal problems? We'll screw them for you. I'm in the phone book. What the hell is this? The number of butt cheeks I have. The number of flags over the big top main opening. The number of kids that Carney Joe has. Must have written it when I was on a bender.
Okay. Look at this note then.
It's an IOU. I, Carney Joe, loan Ransom the fucking clown $1,000 and will hold his joke book hostage until I gets paid.
Oh, great. I don't want to... Wait, how do I... Can I open this? Open microwave.
It's already open.
Oh, it is open. Okay. Look at microwave.
Nothing inside. I only use it for popcorn anyway. The crap they sell here will keep you in the bathroom forever.
Oh, fair.
Ransom, I'm glad I caught you before you went on stage.
Autographs are $100.
Ransom, I'm your business manager and lawyer. I don't want your autograph.
Okay, 50 then.
I just wanted to let you know that your mistress is waiting at your house in Aspen. And your private jet is being fueled and ready to whisk you there when the show is over. Also, we have a deal worth millions to license a line of toddler Ransom the Clown talking insult dolls.
Did you get the liability clause waived?
Correct. They will assume all liability when the kids grow up to be beepholes.
Good. Toddlers start out as assholes. It's not my fault they end up that way. Okay, fine. $25.
I should have been a dentist.
Fuck you!
Okay, let's see. Not that way. I'll go this way first. Nope, nothing over there. Great. Okay. Can I hold on, can I push him? Hold on. I need to know if I can push him.
Grandson, you idiot! Why did you push me? Oh, shit, eh? You owe $5 to my swear jar.
Ransom, you jerk! Ransom, you're a total... I'll get you, Ransom the Clown! Ransom, you jerk! I'll get you, Ransom the Clown! I can't get up! I'll steal your clown nose again, that's what I'll do! I think my steels are broken! Ransom, you jerk! Ransom, you're a total... I'll get you, Ransom the Clown!
Hey.
Nothing's inside. I've checked. Move along, move along.
Shoot the birdie!
Just shoot like a man. You got my money, Clowny?
That's Ransom the Clown, asswipe.
Okay, you got my money, Ransom the asswipe clown? 1,000 clams or you're not getting your joke book back. Serves you right for playing the duckies.
Fuck you, I'm out of here, shithead.
I don't have money.
Try your skill.
Hold on. Use...
That doesn't seem to work.
Hey, guaranteed to hit something.
That's not the IOU, is it?
Shoot the birdie.
Give IOU.
He fucking knows I owe him money. Don't need to rub it in.
Okay, let's find... What was it? He said 1,000, but...
It's an IOU. Ransom the fucking clown
Oh, it
lost
is 1,000.
$1,000 to me, Carney Joe, and I will hold his joke book hostage.
Ooh, hold on.
I can't open that.
Take... No, pick up.
I'll just take the big bucks. It's exactly $138 in unmarked bills. Ooh, my cloud fro looks great now. Now there's the face I love.
Pick up con hat, maybe?
I don't wear fucking hats.
Okay. I don't want to walk the stage, though. Wait, hold on. That's not what I want. Look at lawyer
It's my
card.
fucking lawyer's business card. Brent Bailiwick JD. Legal problems? We'll screw 'em for you. I'm in the phone book.
I don't have a phone book though. Hold on. Use
That doesn't
the...
seem to work.
Okay, whatever. I was leaving. I guess I can waive my lawyer rights or something? I don't know.
Shoot the birdie!
I don't think suing him's gonna fucking help.
Oh, fine. Fuck you two, clown.
We got prizes!
Forgot his name. Screwy the clown or something. Yeah, hold on. Go on stage and insult the fuck out of those idiots. Past my life is amazing, and fuck you for being jealous. Got my comfort. Okay, I don't have my joke book yet. Is there a way I can steal money from someone or something?
I can't get up. Ransom,
Oh,
you
wait.
jerk. I'll steal your clown nose again.
Hold
That's
on.
what I'll do. Pfft. Ransom, you jerk. I'll steal your clown nose again. That's what I'll do. Pfft. I can't get up. Ransom, you jerk. I'll steal your clown nose again.
That's the main fucking exit.
I'll get you, Ransom the clown. Ransom, you're a total... I can't get up. Ransom, you're a total... Ransom, you're a total... I'll steal your...
I don't have time to leave the circus. I have to get ready for my act.
I can't get up. I'll get you, Ransom the clown. I'll get you, Ransom the clown. I can't get up. I'll get you, Ransom the clown. Ransom, you jerk. I'll steal your clown nose again. That's what I'll do. Pfft. I can't get up. I'll steal your clown nose again. That's what I'll do. Pfft. I can't get up. I can't get up. Ransom, you jerk. Ransom, you're a total...
Okay.
Grand prize if you can shoot the hair up, Ransom the Clown! Oh, so you decided to pay up?
Yeah, here's your money. Now where's my joke book?
Wait, are you messing with me? That's only 138 bucks in interest. Where'd the grand you owe me?
Thought you'd settle for less. Beggars can't be fucking choosers.
Oh, yeah? Well, I choose to hang on to your joke book till I gets the full 1,138 bucks. Now, beggar off. Win big today.
I don't have the joke book and I can't... Hold on, let's see. Open?
Nothing's inside. I've checked. Move along, move along. It's fresh out of that crappy popcorn. Must be a huge crowd in the big top.
I can't get up. I'll steal your clown nose again. That's what I'll do. Pfft. I think my stilts are broken. I can't get up. I'll steal your clown nose again. That's what I'll do. Pfft.
I don't think I was supposed to push him. What do you guys think? I don't think I was supposed to push him, but things happen. What's that? Okay. Okay. Open. Wait, can't I call the... No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to look at headline flyer.
It says, need...
4466 or something? Okay, you know what? 4466. Why the fuck not? At this point, I have no idea
my
where I'm
stilts
going.
are broken. Ransom, you're a total... I'll get you, Ransom.
Okay. Use 4466. Four 4 6 8. Open 4468. Why 4468? That doesn't even.
I think my stilts are
Whatever.
broken. Ransom, you jerk! I'll steal your clown nose again.
Use 4468.
Welcome to the fully automated Hintron 3000 system. We aim to make your experience playing Thimbleweed Park easier.
Playing.
If you're ever stuck on a puzzle or don't know what to do, phone us. The hints here will change depending on which part you are currently playing. If you can find a hint you're looking for, it's because you don't need to solve it right now. You can
Okay.
always just hang up when you're done. My feelings won't be hurt much. How can I help you?
Where can I find money to get this stroke foot back?
There is a different place you need to search to find more money.
Okay. I will be right back. Hold on. Okay. He knocked on my door, that fucker. Ah! Motherfucker, what did I do wrong there? Was I supposed to turn off the... Oh. Dang it. I didn't do it right. Whoops. How did I just do that?
Don't you have to keep an eye on your store?
Oh, I'm sure it's safe. I'd much rather keep an eye on you.
Of course.
Say there.
Fist me.
Yes?
I mean... That was not what I meant.
What was the purpose of this chamber?
Oh my god, slip of the tongue.
You have me there.
Fine, turn off. Okay, he figured it out. What?
What? You want to fight? You want to go? You want a piece of this? I'll take you out. Fuck you like a bad habit, boy.
Yeah, like you could drop a bad habit. No, don't you fucking dare. Give me that back.
Oh, you swore online.
I do it all the time, doesn't matter.
Oh, but if I do it, it's
No, I was talking about... You know what? Never mind. I won't even talk about it. There we go. I got it. I made it. Don't die. Don't die. Don't die. Don't die. Don't die. No! Oh, wait. No, never mind. I'm sorry. I got upset. I got upset prematurely, I think. Collect coins. Fuck, it broke. Don't worry, I have a stick that can help me with this. What, this? No, that's nothing. Watch this shit. Hold on. It should be... There we go. See, fixed. I win. She looks hot, though. I mean, what? Who said that? I don't know who said that, but, you know... I agree. I mean, what? Who the fuck?
Max, Lucas, Rosemary, to Milk, to everyone.
Oh my god.
I am right. I am just. I am alive, and I am in sound mind.
He said he said the title. He said the title. Guys, he said the title. Perfect. Ha 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 ha! I'm a genius. I am not a genius. Never mind, I lied. Unless I am. I am not. Fuck. I shouldn't worry about the coins though. Ah! You motherfucker, fuck you. Sorry there. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off the amplify ambient sounds. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
I did that wrong. Well, shit. Hold on. What was it? 4668, right? Yeah. Use. Four, 668. Oh, she's taking too long. Answer, damn it. Right? 4468. Come on. Let's try this again.
Welcome back to the
There it
Hintron
is. Fucking
3000.
A. What the
How
hell?
can I help you?
You can help me with a hint.
Where would you hide a lot of money?
Oh, in a safe, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep,
Goodbye.
yep. Should be safe somewhere, right? Not that way.
I think my stilts are broken. I don't have
Okay,
time to
oh,
leave the
shit, wrong
circus.
way.
I have to get ready for my act.
No, I just have to wait till after to be able to check if anything works. Okay, anyway. Walk the trailer door. Open trailer door. There's no fucking... What's this? Let's walk the lumpy poster. Okay, look at... Lumpy poster. Hold on.
My circus poster featuring the amazing Ransom the Clown.
Yeah.
That's me, fuckface.
That is you, fuckface.
He's happy where he is, aren't you, little Ransom?
Okay, walk to bed. Look at bed. Go
Very
to sleep.
cozy.
Go to
My
sleep
maid
then.
changed the sheets today.
Okay. Us checking the audio seems fine for the most part. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, forgot to bring my phone back in. God damn it. Didn't it for this one? Oh yeah, I already did all the math and stuff, okay? Setting. Just... how did I fucking do this? Okay, where are all the reminders? Do I change the categories of this? Look, ascending. Ouch! Oh yeah. That's how I did this. There we go. What was I doing now? Okay. God damn it. It's today, August 16th, so 8/16. 16. Oh, fine, forget it. Let's just mark it as today. August 16th. Not 17th, 16th. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. What else can I do here? What if I open the mirror?
What? You think this is Alice in fucking Wonderland?
Well, fuck you too, dickhead. There's no safe yet, right? Maybe there's a safe somewhere else, I hope? Wait.
Handsome, you're a total... Handsome, you're a total...
Okay. Look at swear jar, I guess?
It's my empty Ransom the Clown swear jar. My contract states that I'm the only one who's allowed to swear. Anyone else caught swearing has to fucking pay up.
I'm trying to figure out... No, nothing that way.
I can't go on stage without my joke book. I might forget my best line.
That's the trailers.
I can't walk in through the main entrance like a tuna-headed pleb. I'm Ransom the Clown. I need to make my big...
Try your skill.
You know, like...
Yeah, take a shot at the target. Shoot the birdie.
There's no safe anywhere.
Handsome, you're a total... Handsome, you jerk!
No, use...
That doesn't seem to work.
Okay, I guess I'll do this.
Welcome back to the Hintron 3000. How can I help you? Perhaps Ransom has a safe place in his trailer somewhere?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
A safe place in his trailer. Okay. Walk to bed a little bit.
I glued him to the table so no one can steal him.
I have a feeling...
I can't open that. Very cozy. My maid changed the sheets today.
Somewhere in his trailer, but I can't find it.
It's already open.
It's not what I wanted to push. No.
It came off the wall.
There it is. Found it.
Let's see if I can remember this fucking combination. Okay now. And fucking finally... Well, shit. That didn't fucking... My circus poster, featuring the amazing Ransom the Clown.
Okay.
The number of butt cheeks I have. The number of flags over the big top main opening. The number of kids that Carney Joe has.
Okay, I got it. Okay, that wasn't too easy, but wasn't too hard either.
I'll get you, Ransom the Clown! I can't get up!
Shoot the bunny!
Wait, I'm a phone now.
Try your skill!
Hold on.
Shoot the bunny! Lots of prizes!
Okay.
We got prizes!
Then there's categories. Games.
Step right this way!
Since I'm here.
Try your skill!
Okay, what was it? What was it? It said look at and look at now.
The number of butt cheeks I have.
2.
The number of flags over the big top main opening. The number of kids that Carney Joe has.
Okay, main opening. Let's do that first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4.
Lots of prizes!
Talk.
You got my money, Ransom the asswipe clown?
So, how's the old ball and chain and kids, huh?
My wife's doing fine, no thanks to you. And so are the 13 kids.
13
But they
kids?
still cries themselves to sleep every night after that stare you gave them.
Fuck you, I'm out of here, shithead.
I'll get you, Ransom the Clown!
I don't have
That's
time
not
to
where I
leave
wanted
the
to
circus.
go.
I have to get ready for my act.
Ransom,
Okay, let's see. Open this door. Okay. Open safe.
Let's see if I can remember this fucking combination.
So 2.
Okay now.
4.
And fucking finally...
13.
Well, shit. That
What?
didn't fucking work.
Oh, does he only have 1?
Let's see if I can remember this fucking combination.
How many butt cheeks do you have? Yeah. Did he have 3 or something?
I give up. Well, shit. That didn't fucking work.
Can't look at his butt. Open.
Let's see if I can remember this fucking combination.
Oh wait, no, I probably was wrong.
give up.
Hold on.
Well, shit. That didn't fucking work.
That's the main entrance, right?
I'll steal your clown nose again, that's what I'll do!
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. Unless I did something wrong, maybe? No, I know I did this.
Ransom, you're a
How many butt cheeks does he
I can't
have?
get up!
How
I'll
do I
steal your
check how
clown-
many butt cheeks I have? No, wait, no, I wanted to look at this. If I could. Oh my god! I just realized something. You see that? Right there. I think that's Gilbert Streetwood's clothing. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I am almost certain of it. There's 2 butt cheeks. Hold on, let me look at that again.
The number of butt cheeks I have. The number of flags over the big top main opening. The number of kids that Carney Joe has.
You did say 13, right?
Ransom, you jerk! I can't get out!
This is the main entrance though. Right, no, I can't look.
Come on over!
I'm coming.
You got my money, Ransom the asswipe clown?
How many kids you say you have?
I have 13 kids. Why?
Oh, nothing. Fuck you, I'm out of here, shithead.
Really? I have 2. He said butt cheeks. How many butt cheeks does he have?
Ransom, you jerk!
Oh,
Ransom,
shit.
you're a total...
How many butt cheeks does he... Does he have 3 butt cheeks? Maybe his face counts? I don't know. Wait, shit, hold on. Look at note again.
The number of butt cheeks I have. The number of flags over the big top main opening. The number of kids that Carney Joe has.
Yeah, 2, 4, 13.
Let's see if I can remember this fucking combination.
2.
Okay, now.
4.
And fucking finally...
13.
Ta
There we go, fucking A.
Next time, I'm setting it to 1, 2, 3.
Okay. And I'm not looking at a guy, I swear, it's just reminders.
I'll steal your clown nose again, that's what I'll do!
Okay, now that I
Get you,
did
Ransom the
that...
clown!
Yeah, shoot the pussycat.
Hold on. Give money to Carney Joe.
We're big today. Oh, so you decided to pay up.
Yeah, well, not much choice. Now where's my joke book?
Yeah, the jokes all suck. So how'd you get to be so famous with jokes like these?
Yeah? What do you know about being funny?
About as much as you do, which is nothing. Now scram, Clowny. You're scaring the customers. Just shoot like a man or a little girl.
I did it. Okay. For a second, I thought I fucked it up somehow by pushing that mime over.
I can't walk in through the main entrance like a tuna-headed pleb. I'm Ransom the Clown.
I'm sorry, I had an issue, okay?
Hello, fuckfaces. I'm Ransom the
Oh,
fucking insult
shit.
clown. I hope no one gets their feelings hurt easily, and if you do, it's your own fucking fault for not being able to take a joke.
Hold on. First of all, that tentacle is from... I think either Maniac Mansion or the second game... I forgot what the second game was. But I know these... Where are they? These 2 over here are from... Whatchamacallit? Maniac Mansion. These 2 characters right here. Let me think. Are there any other... Day of the Tentacle, I think, is what that tentacle is from, if not from Maniac Mansion. Wait, was... No, his friend, who I think also made this with him. Yeah, Day of the Tentacle. Okay, who... Wait. Who made Maniac Mansion? Yeah, Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick. Who also... Ron Gilbert and... let's see... Who made... Thimbleweed Park. I think it was also the same people, right? Yeah, Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick. That's what I thought. I wasn't super sure. Okay, sorry. I just find that interesting that Gary Winnick made Maniac Mansion with Ron Gilbert, so of course they're gonna add their characters in it, you know? Okay, sorry.
You guys fucking love that pillow factory. It's the lamest claim to fame a town has ever had. Paris has the Eiffel Tower, New York has the Statue of Liberty, and Thimbleweed Park has a fucking pillow factory. You better hope to fucking God that feather pillows never go out of style.
Hold on. I have to look something up because I know it's not Detective Case and Clownbot. Who is the man in the yellow hat in Thimbleweed Park? Because I know it's not, oh, do they? No, they don't. But, I think this character right here might be from Maniac Mansion or something like that. I could be wrong.
Thimbleweed Park is full of fucking snobs. You guys have a fucking concert violinist playing in the street for ambience. You're so fucking fancy here that the bums give money to tourists so they can buy some better clothes. Even your roaches turn their noses up at food on the floor now like, fuck it, we can do better.
You dude with the crappy wheelchair. Big nose. Who's the guy with the big nose? Stupid mustache, that guy.
Hey you, dude with the stupid mustache. You think you look like Magnum P.I.? A 70s porn star called. He wants his mustache back.
Oh! Wait, there's a character from Zack McCrack. I need to play these games. Sorry about that. I think I have like the other two games, so.
Hey you, kid with a crappy wheelchair. Were you Hitler in a past life or something? Seriously, kid, you're in a fucking wheelchair, and you got a face that looks like that? God's definitely punishing you for something. Hey you, kid with the ugly shirt. Are you fucking colorblind? Your shirt is about to give me a fucking seizure. I mean, I'm a goddamn clown, and even I wouldn't touch something that garish.
Maybe it.
Hey you, lady with a huge nose.
Or the
I
pink
say
dress.
lady, but your beak suggests you're a fucking toucan. You shouldn't have bought tickets for the show tonight, toots. You should be saving your money for a fucking rhinoplasty. Hey you, ugly old lady with the hairy mole. Or is it your parasitic twin? Whatever it is, I hope you bought a separate ticket. Because if it's big enough to ride the fucking roller coaster by itself, it's not freeloading in my audience.
You will be forever sorry for what you've just said. I curse you to never be able to remove your makeup and to roam these circus grounds until the end of time.
He went on for another 2 hours, insulting everyone he could. Some people laughed because they thought it was funny, but most laughed because they were uncomfortable, and laughing is the best way to hide from the embarrassment of others. But after the show, in his dressing room, there wasn't gonna be any laughter.
Ha! I killed tonight! One of my best shows ever! I hope that ugly old lady with a curse breaks a hip on the way home. Now to get this makeup off, hop on my private jet and go see my mistress Cindy in Aspen. Yeah. What the fuck? This fucking makeup isn't coming off! God damn the fucking fuck shit! Fuck shit fuck! Fuck you, old lady! I'm gonna fucking fuck you up the ass, you fucking fuck of a shit! Fucking shit!
As much as he tried, his makeup wouldn't come off.
Uh-oh.
That old lady wasn't just any old lady. She was Madame Morena, mistress of the dark arts. When she curses you, it's not an empty threat. Something Ransom was just now finding out.
Fuck this fucking makeup and that fucking old fucking a fuck of a lady! Fuck!
Ransom, I've got some bad news.
What do you want, you bald, greedy little shit? Can't you see I'm having a problem? Grab a tissue and some rubbing alcohol and help me, you fucking little shit!
Your private jet crashed while trying to land. Your wife found out about your mistress and she's taking everything you own except the house in Aspen. There was a fire in Aspen and your house burned to the ground. The toy and doll licensing deal is dead and they're suing you for breach. And one more thing. I quit.
What?
And go beep yourself.
Fuck!
Well, damn.
And that's why Ransom the Clown is such a creep. And you should go arrest him for murder.
That's an interesting story. We'll go check up on him.
Damn. Okay, sorry, this game has no achievements. I'll have to get the Steam version in at some point. I don't know when. Wait.
I haven't seen Reyes for a while. Wonder what happened to him.
I know what happened. Oh wait, I can switch to it.
I need to stay focused and solve this murder so I can do what I need to do.
Okay. Walk the skeleton, look at skeleton. It starts talking, it's Murray.
An arm extended in friendship or supplication? Hard to tell. Certainly looks fake.
You look fake. Can I pick it up? Look at
It's my speck of dust.
Okay, can I pick up the hand?
It's made of plastic. No murder here.
Okay. Hi Pocket, how are you doing today? Can I pick up another speck of dust? Look at the specks of dust.
It's my specks of dust.
Okay, walk the dusty boxes. Look at...
The only thing I'd get from poking around these boxes is a case of sneezes.
Okay. Look at valve.
Looks like this valve has been welded into position forever.
Okay. What's speck of dust? Hold on. This is probably an achievement or something that I can only get on Steam. Look at valve.
This valve has also been welded into position.
I'm good. I'm doing good. Stop being EP though. How dare you? Tell to know.
I can't open that.
Oh, you can't? Push?
I can't push that.
Okay. I'm not gonna be able to open this, I already know it, right?
It's sealed shut. No way to open it.
How do I open that? Sorry about this. I'm just doing something real quick. What was I doing? I can't remember. Okay, sorry about that. What do I have that I can do here? What? Oh, I can go this way. Oh. Don't have a key. Oh, I see you. Pick up a speck of dust. Pick up a speck of dust. An emergency call. Okay.
Looks like someone knew I was gonna get stuck down here. Unless my kidnapper wrote that as a trap. Only one way to find out, I guess.
Call what though? Call our Eric lead?
Looks like someone knew I was gonna get stuck down here. Unless my kidnapper wrote that as a trap. Only one way to find out, I guess. An empty coin return slot.
Damn. But do I don't have anything. Okay. Look at payphone.
It's a payphone. Insert dime to make a call.
Well, open this.
I'm looking for an escape route, but I'm looking to go up, not down.
Well, fuck you too, dude. Look at this. Wait, this number I want to look at gate.
It's a sturdy, impenetrable gate.
Okay, open gate?
I can't budget.
You should get somebody to help you budget then. Get a budget, but no, whatever. Fuck you guys. Not actually, but you know what. What the heck? I'm so lost. I can't call for help or anything, so let's see. Open, close, got, push.
I can't turn it.
What if you hold it?
I can't budget. I can't turn these one either. I can't budget.
Where can't I pick this up?
It's made of plastic. No murder here. I can't pull that.
Push it?
I can't push that.
Look at, I guess, okay.
An arm extended in friendship or supplication? Hard to tell. The only thing I'd get from poking around these boxes is a... I don't want to pick that up.
Well, we pick up this
I don't want
box.
to pick that up.
God damn it. on. Okay, sorry about that. What else what's this? Nothing. Okay, no. Hmm. Where did I? Oh, that's all it was, okay? Can't use the payphone though. Look at coin return.
An empty coin return slot.
Okay. What am I supposed to do?
I'm looking for an escape route, but I'm looking to go up, not down.
Well, you should go down, because then you can possibly go up, I don't know. There's no key anywhere, I don't think, because he's not doing anything, you know? I'm getting distracted. Sorry about that, everyone. What was I doing? I was doing something else with that. Okay, sorry about that. Look at badge. Yeah, let's look at the badge again.
Detective Antonio Reyes. It's a
Okay.
hotel keycard from the dead man. It's an empty whiskey bottle. Definitely not the murder
One save game right
weapon.
there.
Wrong-sized body hole.
One.
We interrupt our hostile takeover non-stop music with this important message. Special announcement.
Okay, please need to. Oh, I need to finger. How do I fingerprint? Oh. Walk to B Street. What's that? Oh. And I'll be needing that at some point. Or not. Oh, a speck of dust. Pick it up. At this point, I'm just picking it up to pick them up, you know? Fed's out now. Oh, okay. Open. Is there anything I can play here?
Who could be afraid of a meteor? Especially one that's purple.
Oh my god, die enemy scum with 2 M's, like how he...
I like it when the enemies die. Very realistic red pixel blood. It's out of order.
Scum VM. You know? Cisco Madness, Tuna Head.
It's the famous game, Tuna Head. It's out of order.
Token. I don't want it to get a token. I don't know what makes you think I don't want that, but okay, open. I keep thinking that's a dog outside. Who are you? Lady of the evening. Look at it, I guess.
That Ransom the Clown isn't very popular around here. It says he eats tuna.
Maybe he eats tuna, you don't know. I don't even think they know. Okay. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, hold on. Sorry about this. Just realized something. Oops. Verifications. Wait, is this... Okay, that's silence. Okay, okay. Alright. Notifications, categories, oh. Okay. Where's all the app Discord? Discord. Notifications, sound vibration. Okay, I see, I think. Control all notifications. Yeah, and perfect. I think I figured it out. Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted. That was an act with a... Where's my camera? There it is. How did... Hold on. Let's do that. Main. Okay, fixed it. Okay, let's, talk to the lady of the evening.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I'm afraid I don't have any spare change, miss.
I'm a federal agent. Show some respect, or I'll have you booked for solicitation.
Sweetie, I'm not a hooker. I'm Lenore Edmund Mulch, of the famed Pillowtronics Edmund family, and I'm waiting for my husband and son to arrive on the bus. So I suggest you treat me with a little more respect.
So if you aren't turning tricks, what are you doing dressed like that?
If you must know, I'm waiting for my husband and son to arrive so we can go to the will reading. And FYI, grief is no excuse to look like garbage.
Then what's your excuse? Tell me about Pillowtronics.
Pillowtronics was the brainchild of my uncle, the great entrepreneur and genius inventor Chuck Edmund. The Edmonds made this town great when we opened the Pillow Factory. My family, even my stupid little sister Dolores, might as well be royalty as far as Thimbleweed Park is concerned, sweetie.
Okay.
Tell me more about Chuck.
Uncle Chuck was powerful, rich, and surrounded himself with beautiful things. He's everything I aspire to be, sweetie. Without his inventions and money, we'd still be chicken farmers instead of society's elite.
Okay.
You want to be like your uncle?
Yes. I even named my son Chucky after his great uncle. So deep was our connection. I'm sure that will be reflected in the will. Things will change around here when I take control of the Edmund family fortune.
Okay, so Blue Sky's fucked. They haven't updated something on mobile. I'm not surprised as they vibe code or whatever it's called.
Do you know anything about the body by the river?
Oh, sweetie. Yes. So glad someone is finally getting rid of it. But one does hear things, and I do have an inkling of who might be connected to this nasty business.
Yeah?
Tell me who you think is connected to the body.
Well, I hate to cast aspersions, but I suppose it is for the good of the town.
Tell me what you know.
Actually... No, I can't do this. The Edmund reputation is at stake.
Where it is.
Spill the beans,
Trust fund Barbie, that's funny.
Fine, it was my sister Dolores. She abandoned our family and the business to become a...
A pirate? A hooker like her sister?
Hooker like her sister?
No. It was far worse. She became a video game developer.
Yeah, wow, that's fucked
It all
up.
started a few years back. She only wanted one thing, to be a game designer for that awful game company. Mucus Phlegm. Uncle Chuck wanted something else for her, but no. She was too selfish. Only wanted to make stupid adventure games.
I've got to get out of this town. Uncle Chuck wants me to program his factory computers, but I just want to design games. I wish I could get a job at a company like Mucus Phlegm Games. Now the only thing I have to look forward to is my favorite computer magazine. In fact, I should check the mailbox and see if it's arrived yet.
Okay, hold on, I'll check in a second. Anyway, we get journal, look at Thimbleweed Pie. Is that a Billy Idol picture? I know that's Albert Einstein.
You're a rebel, Billy.
Yeah, I think that's Billy Idol. I think he made that
I think
song Rebel
Revenge
Yell.
of the Jedi was a much better name.
Yep, Star Wars. I don't know who this is. I recognize the face though, but I don't remember who it was.
Max was the world's first computer-generated TV host.
That's who it was.
Someday we'll have one for real.
No. I want to pick this up, maybe? I don't know what that's for, but okay. I don't want to see the ASCII chart. Action figures, what? Look at action figures, what do they have?
These are part of my action figure collection.
Okay. Hold on. No, look out. I thought I clicked on
These are
that.
part of my action figure collection, including my prized Howard the Duck.
Of
Seems
course
like the
it's
mail should have arrived by now.
Okay, open your door. Walk to the home, walk to the streets. Maybe. Nope, I went the wrong way. Yeah, I'm not going all the way over there. There we go, walk the hall. Whee! Wait, that gas
Hi
right
there, George. I was just about to check the mail. Great timing.
You still around, Dolores? Thought you'd have left this podunk of a town by now.
Yes, hopefully soon. I'm looking for a job at a game company in the big city.
That's not gonna make your Uncle Chuck happy.
He'll just have to deal with it. What brings you all the way out here?
I have your special magazine here.
Oh, I've been waiting for that. Thank you.
Sure, it's what we dedicated government employees do. Walk all the way out into the country to deliver a magazine.
So, did you put it in here? What the fuck? Oh no, I haven't.
It's our special Mailtron 3000 mailbox. Postman comes once a day.
See what else is down here. Nothing. What happens if I open this door? Oh, it's just here, okay. Open. Why is there like... Okay, I thought that was blood for a second.
What a mess. Someone could cut themselves on those bottles.
Okay, ew. What the can of trademark infringing poopsie? I have to read that. Hold on. Look at poopsie.
It's a can of non-trademark infringing poopsie.
Non-trademark. Okay, cool. Okay, sorry. Oh, wait. Close. I don't want to keep that open. Open drawer.
There's nothing inside.
Okay. Close drawer. Open cupboard.
There's nothing inside.
Open this one.
There's nothing inside except an empty glass.
Pick up the glass. Close. Close. Open. What's that? Oh, it's a... Okay, I see. Open. That's not at all what I wanted to do, but okay. Open this door?
I still get lost after all these years.
Open this one? Open. Open. Open.
Where am I?
You're right, where are you? What the fuck?